All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you after the Rams win against the San Francisco 49ers 12 to 6. That might be, well, I know it's the only time, Jake, that we've ever had that score. With any game that we've covered, that will probably be the only time that we'll ever have a 12 to 6 score uh, I mean, it's one of those games that is so unreal. Um,
Should we
you're
do it, by
looking,
the way?
go for it.
It's up to you. I did it
I
last night. It's a great song. I don't even care.
I don't even know what song you're referring to, but go ahead and play. I think I do.
You do. You've seen it a million times.
Go ahead, play the
Um,
song.
I'm finding it. Stall.
All right, while Jake is finding whatever song, we have a comment about play the song. What I was saying about the score is if you haven't guessed by now, I can't imagine none of you have caught up on the game, but if you're just listening to our recap, there was not a touchdown scored by either the Rams or the 49ers, but the Rams pulled out the win against the 49ers. Jake, play the song.
Oh, that's not the song. What the hell?
What was that?
Holden. I thought he was. That's funny. No, this is the song.
Damn, fuck the 49ers. Yeah, fuck the 49ers. Yeah, fuck the 49ers. Hey, sorry ass team. Hey, fuck the 49ers. Damn, I hate the 49ers. I hate y'all. I hate the 49ers. Fuck y'all. Bow, 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 bow. Y'all some booty champs. Hey, 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 hey. Y'all lost to the champs. Bow, 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 bow. Y'all some booty cheeks. Hey, 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 hey. Super Bowl losing streak. Yeah. Hey, fuck the 49ers. Damn, I hate the 49ers. Back. I hate that fucking team. Back. Brock Purdy look like Jimmy Neutron, friend Sheen. Timu Tom Brady got your quarterback from Sheen. Why I hate that team so much? Where can I begin? And fuck George Kittle, bro. He look
I
like
like
Dan
George Kittle.
Franklin. And fuck Brock Purdy, bro.
That's
He
true.
look like Ronald Reagan. And fuck Debo Samuel, bro. He look like the baby.
Oh my
And
god, I
fuck
love
the
that.
49ers.
They say
Can't say it
Brock
enough.
Purdy looks
Yeah,
like
I thought y'all
Ronald
had this one,
Reagan.
huh? Yeah, that shit was just a bluff. And I ain't trying to hear what you gotta say
Yikes.
about my
I don't
team.
even know the
We
words.
both went home with the same amount of rings. Facts. Bow, 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 bow. Y'all some booty cheeks. Hey, 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 hey. Y'all lost to the Chiefs. Bow, 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 bow. Y'all some booty cheeks. Hey, hey,
What's so funny? What's so funny about that song is this is the first, literally last night was the first time I'd heard it, but apparently it's been around.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
who
Oh yeah.
made it? Was it like who made, do we know who made the song?
That's the problem is I don't know who made this song because it was on like TikTok. It says at Trap House Sports, but like I don't know if at Trap House Sports made the song, which I don't love. I want to be able to credit people for the genius work that they did. Um, so if you made the song and somehow you come across this video, hit me up at JK Bogan. I want to give you credit. And I want to make sure you get credit for anybody who uses the song because everybody is using the song.
And also,
That
let's clarify that this is in like relatively good fun.
yeah, I
We're
don't hate the
not,
49ers by the way.
no, I don't.
I retired my hatred even from the Lions. I don't know if you saw my public
Well,
service
let's not
announcement.
take it that far.
No,
Let's not take it that
I'm
far.
done hating I'm done hating teams. I'm done doing it. But
Um, no, it's fun. I do have many friends who are 49ers fans, but the week that we all play gets very intense. So, um, certainly have been hearing it from 49ers fans all week, even after the game, some nasty comments. So, we'll just start playing the song and go
yeah.
from there. But yeah, if anybody knows who actually made that song, please feel free to drop it in the chat. We could give them credit. Like I said, I hadn't heard it. I don't even really know the words, but very catchy and very fun. The video that I saw people playing it to with the
Oh yeah, the
boombox and
boom box
yeah,
because that
yeah.
looks ridiculous anyway. But
Well,
yeah, I mean, last night was so big for the Rams because they got the first sweep of the 49ers since 2018. You have a Kyron Williams quote I want you to throw out there. And I want you to give context to it because I think people are saying,
oh
like,
yeah.
he's barking up the wrong tree. Well, first off, no, he's not because you guys aren't coming down doing anything about it. You're not making the
Hmm.
playoffs. But second, He was justified. Even if he said it in the tone that I think people read it on Twitter, I agree with it. So, give your thoughts on that.
Kyron Williams was interviewed after the game, and they kind of talked about um, just recap and kind of touched on, the rivalry between the Rams and the 49ers. And he gave actually a compliment. He complimented the 49ers a lot, but he talked about the energy of the Rams team and how some of the players in the team had been talking about, we have a chance to sweep San Francisco, and how then they did it. And when he was asked to describe kind of the feeling, he again complimented the 49ers, but at the end he said something about like it felt kind of like we were the big brother now, or something like that. We're the big brothers now. And of course 49ers are taking that quote and circulating it around. And the whole video is out there, by the way. They're sharing the video, which is like 2.5 minutes long. And they're obviously using a clickbait quote from the end. But like you touched on, even if that was the quote, I mean, I don't know that he's necessarily like wrong in terms of this season, right? I mean,
He's
we've
not.
won both games, but also like to be fair, as you and I were saying, like people aren't watching the video. He actually was very complimentary of the 49ers and talked about how good of a team they are and how hard they are to beat. So yeah, that's the context between that Kyron Williams quote that I know like 49ers fans are using to kind of trash him or trash the Rams and say that, we're sore winners or whatever. It's totally not true. But yeah, the video's out there. Anybody can go watch it.
Yeah, so this is the original
But
creator at Trap House Sports. I just wanted to be clear. Like, I'm a big fan of giving credit to the first person that did something or created something. We're creators. We wouldn't like it if somebody took credit for our entire podcast, or
right.
not to say people don't take stuff that we say and, go on Facebook and act like they created the thought. I saw that with yours. You had, what was it? Braden Fisk getting a touchdown, and someone's like, yeah, I just have this feeling Braden Fisk is going to get a touchdown. I was like, there's no way you thought that beforehand, but it is what it is.
All right.
It's all good. The Rams won. That's all we care about.
That's all that we care about. And you know what?
Yeah.
Against a division rival who, again, like we've touched on, I think to open the episode, we have a very intense rivalry with. And who, I feel like you and I are very, very fair to the 49ers. And,
Absolutely.
We give them a lot of credit. And we'll talk about it now. I mean, listen, guys, this was a win of 12-6. There was not a touchdown scored. I don't think Jake saw that going that way. I certainly didn't see it going that way. I don't think anybody did. It is funny. This one girl I know, and I follow her on Twitter, and she bet 24 cents for a touchdown to not be scored.
No way.
She did. And she's a Saints fan. She's not a Rams or 49ers fan. She's a running bit called Scared Money Doesn't Make Money, and she'll just pick outrageous FanDuel bets and take like 24 cents or 61 cents or like whatever it is to win, like at plus 24 that million, like whatever, odds. And so last night her bet literally was no touchdown scored, and she bet like 24 cents or something and ended up with $24. And I was like,
crazy.
That was a really good pick. But yeah, Jake, looking at this game, you have to give a lot of credit to the 49ers defense, first off.
Absolutely.
And you've got to give a lot of credit to our defense. I mean, it was a battle of the defenses. The offenses were not able to get anything done. I think the Rams in the second half had, a couple explosive plays, when the rain stopped, and I think they kind of adjusted to kind of the sticky coverage that the 49ers were executing really, really well. I mean, the Rams were not able really in the passing game to get anything done. Again, they were able to kind of do it a little bit in the second half. I mean, their best, obviously, passing play was that kind of deep ball to Puka, which was great. But they really, the entire game, weren't able to get, much done. You look at, Matthew Stafford, 16 for 27, 160 yards. Much of that in the second half, like I've mentioned. On the ground is obviously where they were able to be productive. Kyron Williams, 29 carries, 108 yards. I mean, watching the game, it's a little surprising he got over 100. The 49ers, did pretty well. I thought the offensive line did well, but it was just one of those just like brutal games that you felt like you had to, grind out. And, obviously we had to, I think, stick on with the ground game a little bit because the passing game couldn't get anything done when the 49ers were in man. And then on the flip side, I think our defense kind of did the same thing. Our defenses played actually very similar, us and the 49ers. But Jake, what are your overall thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, they just kept running the football. And I think that was a big thing. Kyren Williams takes 29 carries for over 100 yards. The yards per carry average isn't great, but who cares? In a game like that, where, first off, the elements affected this game. Let's not, act like it didn't. A lot of rain. At one point, it looked like heavy rain. And when you're Kyren Williams, who, really likes to kind of just slither his way for a first down, you have no traction at that point. Now you're slipping down. You saw that. I think that really benefited up front for the 49ers defensive line. And of course, that helped the Rams too when the 49ers were trying to run the football. But Kyren Williams still made 4 tackles, missed tackles in this game, which was really good. He had 67 of his 108 yards after contact, which was really good. And so that really helped them out because Stafford could not grip the ball in the first half. And then I just feel like he didn't have it in this game. There was a picture that went kind of viral right before the game. It was Stafford, just coming in off the plane or whatever. And he looked absolutely zonked. You could just see he was tired. He was exhausted. And Andrew Whitworth made fun of it after the game. It was just like, that's what life of a 36-year-old quarterback in the NFL, with kids and everything is going to look like. And, I think a lot of credit goes to the Buffalo Bills because I think they really brought everything out of the Rams to win that game. And in normal circumstances, because people say, Alexis and Jake, why are you defending this? Or why do you think that's the case now when it wasn't the case against the Vikings? And I'll tell you, the Vikings was off a game after a bye. So against the Raiders. So not even the same style of team. And then you play against one of the best teams in the league, a team that I still think can win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. And you play a 44-42 type of barn burner that you haven't played all year. Well, yeah, I think that a lot was taken out of them. And then going into this game, you're on the road, short week, rivalry game. You're going up against a team that is playing for their season, and you're doing so in the elements. It was raining. So I think a lot of things come into this, and this is championship football at the end of the day. Because you can't, on one hand, say the Rams 44-42, wow, the defense sucked, which a lot of people did, and then turn around and say, wow, the Rams 12-6. Wow, the offense sucked. No, at some point or another, you got to give the other side some credit. And I think the 49ers defense was really tough in this one. And the Rams just did enough to get by. And you got to credit guys like Kyren Williams, who've been scrutinized for the fumbling. He took the ball 29 times in back-to-back games on a 4-day window and didn't fumble. In the rain, didn't fumble, carried the offense. Puka Nacua, who everybody was talking about after the Bills game, goes out there, can't get really a lot going, doesn't matter, gets that 50-yard plus bomb to really kind of take over the game at that point. How about Hunter Long, off a punt block on Sunday, comes out. He looks good, not only just in the blocking game, but I thought he was really smooth as a receiver. And I find myself wanting to see more of him. Colby Parkinson makes a boneheaded move to go out of bounds, follows it up by catching essentially the game sealer there to get that first down. And, it wasn't just that. Cooper Kupp, 0 catches, 0 yards. I know fantasy football fans aren't going to want to hear it, but the reality is Cooper Kupp, you have to find other areas of the game to impact, and he did. And this is why Cooper Kupp is a pro's pro. He can still impact the game, not actually having any catches or anything. So that it is what it is there. But I also got to give a lot of praise to the offensive line in this one. I thought that they were great. yet again, they were great against the Bills. They were great against the 49ers. They gave up 20 pressures in this game, right? They did. But again, we're talking about the rain. We're talking about just a short week, and they gave up 0 sacks. 0. This was not going to be easy. You were getting the 49ers all, and I thought the Rams did their damnedest to give Stafford enough time. And I thought quite often it was Stafford missing the throws that he normally makes, which tells me he was just zonked from Sunday, and not really necessarily that he didn't have the pocket. So with that said, to wrap up the offensive side, Kevin Dotson is an absolute animal. You saw the play. We all saw it, except for apparently I love Al Michaels, and I think Kirk Herbstreit's really good. But they didn't say anything about it. This guy is throwing the 49ers right out of the club. He just ran people over. And we saw it in real time. And it was cool to see the NFL social media team actually push that, because offensive linemen, and we interview a lot of them, and we have a soft spot for the O-line, they do not get enough credit. They're called the big uglies for a reason. But I'll tell you right now, even though that was a bull in a china shop, that was a thing of beauty. And if you love football, shit like that is why. So hats off to Kevin Dotson. That one play in particular with the 3 pancakes or whatever he had on the Kyron run was just special.
It was. And yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was really cool that the Rams highlighted that because, I think offensive linemen are the unsung heroes. And, I think Rams fans definitely know that they can literally make or break your team. It doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. It doesn't matter how good your receivers, running backs are. If you have 0 offensive line, it's going to be really, really hard to get anything done. So they were great last night against a 49ers defense that was playing really well. I mean, like we said, we weren't able to score on them. So thankfully the offensive line was able to kind of hold their own with them last night and kind of minimize the damage that could have happened. I just think, wrapping up the offense, Jake, I felt like as gritty of a game as it was, and listen, Matthew Stafford started off the game very poorly, as we talked about. That was obvious. He just didn't look like himself. He was missing wide open throws, and it was raining. So I think some of it could probably be attributed to the rain. Brock Purdy had his struggles at first too. But I thought we really stepped up in the run game. I mean, and also, 29 carries from Kyron. I think he had close to that amount against the Bills, if I'm not mistaken.
He had 29 exactly.
So 29. So in within 4 days, he's had, I'm not good at math, but I think that's 58.
Yeah, I'm not good at math either, but yes,
no, it's 58.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay, so so that's that's a lot of work within in a short week. It's already a short week, and then 2 games where he's running the ball a lot. Just another testament to a great job by him in this game, and he kind of really put the offense on his back for a while. So yeah, I was really pleased, as crazy as it sounds, with the grit from the offense, even though, I'm obviously disappointed that they couldn't score in the red zone. That one play, wrapping it up with that Kyron block against Leonard Floyd.
Poor Leonard Floyd, man.
Yeah. Everybody was messaging me about that. I have it posted on my Twitter if you guys want to check it out. But Kyron absolutely bodied Leonard Floyd. But what gets lost on that play is everybody's focusing on how good of a hit that was, because it was, great,
it was great
pass protection.
Textbook.
And then he completes the route and makes a catch. But if you watch that
on
play
the
check down, so then he makes a catch, makes the play even cooler. But what would have been coolest is if Matthew Stafford would have hit him. I counted in my head, like literally 2 to 3 seconds quicker. He would have had a wide open touch. There's no one behind him. But instead, Stafford ran out. He kept running out. Then he's on the sideline. And then, Fred Warner is able to make a play. But I rewatched that several times. And I was like, I wish Matthew would have hit him just a little bit sooner. Because he had nobody behind him. He would have just walked it in for a touchdown. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen that clip, it's really cool. And
that's why they drafted him. when they were asked by Jordan Roderick why they drafted Kyron Williams, they said pass pro. That's why. And obviously there are other reasons to it, and that's why he's RB1 for this team. But I mean, pass protection is huge. It's what cost Cam Akers a spot on this team. I mean, make no mistake about it. If he could pass protect, they might not have even drafted Kyron Williams. So, you know, that's kind of the thing, right? But I just have to give a shout out, though, to this offense when things really felt bleak. Neither team was really doing anything on the offensive side. And then the 49ers have some 10-play drive, only for 34 yards. They get a field goal because, of course, Jake Moody, I heard it all week. Jake Moody's really been struggling. So I'm like, oh, he'll drill every single field goal he sees. And he'll drill it in the pouring rain or the snow, whatever he gets. I could already tell that it's going to be that type of game. Well, after that, the Rams are down 6-3, and it's 8:23, right? The Rams would go on to hold on to the football the rest of the quarter and bleed out 2 minutes in the fourth quarter with a 17-play, 65-yard drive that goes 9 minutes and 45 seconds. And to me, despite the fact they didn't get the touchdown, and a lot of people were complaining, and I did want them to go for it, but at the same time, I liked them just taking the points and the elements. The Rams, when they tied it up, felt like they just took the lead because you could see this is a chess match type of game. This is an old school chess match. This is a boxing match. You're trying to score points, hitting the body, and then you're setting up for potentially the haymaker, but you might not have that, and you might just have to win by decision, not knockout. And the Rams knew that. They knew that this was going to be a decision and not a knockout. And so while that 50-plus yard bomb, you could say could have been a knockout, it wasn't. This was still a game to the bitter end. And I just give them a lot of credit on that 17-play drive that even though they didn't get the touchdown, that just absolutely killed that defense. Because after that, the Rams are able to score on a 5-play drive. They get 59 yards. And then after that, they get another 13-play drive. So they had double-digit drives twice in this game that went for points, and it was in the fourth quarter when they had to have it. And that tells me that not only did the offense start gaining some momentum, and obviously the rain died down, but more importantly, Alexis, they had tired out this defense, and we saw that.
Yeah, I agree. And, switching kind of sides here and talking about our defense and 49ers offense, like I said, they very much mirrored each other. The defenses this game, this was a battle of the defenses.
Yeah.
They both teams had a defense that really stepped up. Thankfully, the Rams was able to, lead the victorious side. But I was really proud of what this defense was able to do. And I was particularly proud of your guy, Kello Witherspoon, that Jake is flexing over there because he came out and had a great game in the absence of Kobe Durant, who was out. So Witherspoon got the start, and he did a very good job. And we got our question answered, kind of, that we asked last episode of who was going to be on Juwan Jennings, because you and I are both really big fans of Juwan Jennings and think that he's very underrated. And it was a question mark, who's going to be on him, right? Williams or Witherspoon. We saw Lake on him a little bit, but it was really Kello, if I'm not mistaken. So Jake's throwing up some comments for everybody listening right now on our screen, complimenting Witherspoon and asking where the Kello haters are at. And I don't know, Jake. I don't know where they're at because I certainly haven't seen anything from them.
I have, but they don't know ball, so I don't really care. I don't know how you watched that and said, yeah, he was okay, or yeah, he was all right. That was, to your point, I mean, that was a massive performance with Kobe out on a short week. And this is why he should have been starting all along. So anyway, I just want back to what you were saying.
No, well, I wanted to give him credit because, in a game like this, yes, they have injuries, but, Juwan Jennings is very good. George Kittle is very good. Both of those guys were still in last night. And I thought our defense did a really good job, against them, all things considered. Looking at the first half, right, in the rain, it was chaotic. Obviously everybody was struggling, but I just thought that the Rams did really good. George Kittle, 4 receptions for 61 yards. I mean, it was a solid performance from him. He was their leading receiver. I mean, Juwan Jennings being held to 2 receptions and 30 yards is like, if you would have told me that a few days ago, I would have been ecstatic, but I would have been a little bit in disbelief. So the fact that he was able to be held to 31 yards is fantastic. But also just again, in general, the fact that the Rams defense was able to have such a shutdown performance and absolutely just make it misery for this 49ers offense is great. So I don't know if you have any thoughts kind of on the defensive performance as a whole, and if there's anything in particular that stood out to you.
Yeah, well, I first off want to say this. I don't remember the last time a Rams cornerback has had 3 pass breakups in a game. So anybody getting on Kello, I don't know what you're actually doing. And I think the problem is a lot of people don't understand that cornerbacks, this is how I will explain it, because I love my analogies. As you know, we've been doing this thing. This is now our 554th episode. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So, I've been doing this for a while. Analogies are my thing. You know what the analogy is that I would say for cornerback play? Well, think about this, okay? People think that corners can't give up first downs. They can't give up catches. That's not true. Just like it's not true that the best hitter in baseball bats 1,000. He doesn't go up there 10 out of 10 times and gets, a hit every single time, right? The best hitters in baseball bat 3 of 10, 300. So obviously, if you give up 3 catches out of 10 targets in football, that's pretty darn good. And last night, for whatever reason, Brock Purdy was going after Ahkello Witherspoon and really challenging him. And guess what? He gave up 57 yards on 7 targets, 4 receptions, right? Some people look at that and say that's too much. However, he only had 12 yards after the catch given up. He had 4 tackles, no missed tackles. The Rams, surprisingly, with just the crazy weather that they were dealing with, only had 1 missed tackle. That was Byron Young. Darius Williams didn't play all that bad, gave up 3 catches on 6 targets for 48, but he had 30 yards after the catch given up in those targets. So that's when that becomes an issue. When now all of a sudden yards after the catch, that's on, okay, you've given up the catch, now what? Push him out of bounds, bring him down. If you're limiting the yards after the catch, that's how to do it. The problem has been this year that they're giving up a lot of yards after the catch, and that's been D. Will's issue. However, D. Will came away with the interception, which was huge, and basically sealed the deal. No idea what Brock Purdy was doing throwing that football. He had Pearsall wide open that probably gets the first down. I don't know what he was doing. Either way, those two stepped up. How about Cameron Curl? I think this was his best game as a Ram in coverage. He had a really good game and was in a different role. I thought you saw some really good things out of Curl. Was targeted twice, no catches allowed, really shut down his assignment, and one of his assignments was George Kittle. I thought Cameron Kinchins, once again, looks like he's just growing up on the fly. Quentin Lake, this was a huge game for him. Only gave up 6 yards, 1 catch on 4 targets. So really good stuff out of the secondary. And when you do that on a short week, after you just got blistered by Josh Allen's 6-touchdown brigade, and you come back and everyone is talking about it, you just had the best win of your season, and all anybody wants to talk about is how bad your defensive play was. You come out and you're able to have this performance. I don't care if Brock Purdy was missing throws. I don't care if it was the elements or whatever. This was a hell of a performance. And Alexis, this matters more. I had a 31-24 game. I think you had something very similar.
The same.
Here's the thing. Oh, we have the same. Okay.
Yeah.
It's perfect, right? What I'm about to say is this. The 12-6 game is going to benefit more and help them more become what they're supposed to be down the stretch than a 31-24 game would have, because we already knew the offense got the confidence on Sunday. They're able to drop 37. Obviously, the 7 more of that came in the form of the special teams unit blocking the punt. But the reality is, now this late in the season against a team that knows you well, and your defense gives up 6 points in prime time on a short week, oh yeah, they are going to build off this. The defense carried them to this win. And I think this is a great thing because the offense carried them to the win on Sunday. Defense carried them to the win. This time around, the special teams unit continues to ball out. Josh Carty, some of you said it. Let's go and get the John Parker Romo guy that was cut by the Vikings. And I said, no. Let's give Josh Carty an opportunity here to do what he can do. I believe in this kid. The Rams believe in him, and it's why they won. Because if you put that, you put that pressure on Maher, maybe Maher doesn't do it last year. Lucas Haversick definitely doesn't do it last year. This was a great performance for Carty in the rain. They didn't ask him to do anything too crazy, but they did ask him to kick from the left hash, which has been an issue for him, and he drilled it. So really appreciate that. And then, of course, the defense up front, Kobe Turner, man. This was a huge performance for him. The linebackers were really good. I thought Roseboom and Omar did really well. And I know people are getting on Verse because they're not seeing the sacks. And they're putting out, since this point or whatever, his win rate has gone down. But what if I told you that Jared Verse had a 24.1% win rate on Thursday night? On a short week, dealing with the ankle, I'm sure, and 24% of the time he won his battles. Kobe won 19% in the trenches, which is insane for an interior defensive lineman. Braden Fisk won 16.7%, and Michael Hoyt won 14% as, the cheetah package guy that comes in and he does all the dirty work. So really what I mean to say is that this is an all hands on deck win, and this is going to be huge for a young defense. They're going to build off this, just like the offense is going to build off what they did against Buffalo. They get that much needed mini bye, and they'll be ready at MetLife when I'm out there to see them go and beat the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You are going to be at the Jets game.
I am.
But just overall, again, I know that a 12-6 game is excruciating. Trust me, I'm aware of that. They can be really hard to watch. I joked that this game took years off my life. It's a battle, but you know what? I think that it showed us a lot about this Rams team and what they're capable of, and I think that they really needed this. Sometimes wins like this are a lot better for morale than a blowout. And I know that it sounds crazy saying that, but anyone who's played sports knows what I'm talking about. Sometimes these hard fought wins build your confidence even more. So I was really, really happy, obviously, with the Rams performance. And I thought that, it was, well, you and I both said last episode, it was critical that they win. I mean, if the Rams didn't win last night, I would be very scared that their season would be over. There would have been a way mathematically, obviously. But I just felt like this was such a statement for the Rams to go out and win. And I'm reading these comments kind of as we close talking about the actual game. There's Jake, let's pivot because, there's pivot. Let's pivot to, some news that came out today.
Yeah.
That our former friend, Odell Beckham Jr., or I guess friend. We aren't close personal friends of Odell Beckham Jr.
I mean, I've talked to him a little bit. I'll try to get him to the Rams.
I've talked to him one time. He was nice. But anyways, Odell Beckham Jr. got released by the Dolphins.
He did.
And a lot of Rams fans are engaging in conversation on social media right now saying that the Rams should sign him. And I remember what happened last time Odell Beckham Jr. came to the Rams in the middle of a season. Season ended pretty favorably.
Yeah.
We ended up with a Super Bowl win. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Now, Jake, I'll be honest. I see both sides of this argument. I'm
Hmm.
not super passionate about it one way or another. I would love to see him back on the Rams because I'm a big fan of Odell Beckham Jr. And I think that he is a benefit. I'm not saying that he is the same player he was, but I think that he's a veteran receiver. You get him in the locker room. God forbid somebody goes down, right?
Yeah.
You have him as a body, if anything, and also the nostalgia factor because he was, with us when we won the Super Bowl a few years ago. But then I also see the other side of it. We truthfully, you don't need him, right? We're not in dire need of a receiver. We already have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and we've got Demarcus Robinson, who's been playing very well, Tutu Atwell, who's been really coming through with us. We got rookie Jordan Whittington. We still have Tyler Johnson, right? So I understand kind of the people who are like, we literally, there's no point. So I see both sides of it. I'm not super passionate about it either way, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, if we're going by don't need, did the Rams really need Jalen Ramsey? I mean, they spent all that, all those assets to get Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. And I mean, they didn't need Jalen Ramsey, but they wanted him and they got it done. Did they need Stafford? Like we talk about this all the time. Like, yes, Stafford brought them over the hump, but that's a really kind of outlier move by the Rams where I don't think the 31 organizations trade a young Jared Goff in his prime for Matthew Stafford. I just don't think any other organization would have done that, move. Now, the organizations that were interested, the Colts didn't have a Goff and, Carolina didn't have a Goff. The 49ers, maybe, they wouldn't, but like really there weren't that many. And so that's the whole thing. I always hear like the need. Like, do they really need to? No. Did they need Odell Beckham Jr. when the year they won the Super Bowl? Like, no, actually. Going into that signing, and that's the weird thing, the voodoo, where I will never forget it as long as I live. I'm at the Devils game in New Jersey, and I get a text. I'm on my way to the Devils game. And I get a text from the most random account ever on Twitter. 0 followers. This was clearly somebody inside the organization. 0 followers, 0 following. And it's one of those DMs that you see, right? But it's like you have to read more or whatever. It didn't just show up right at my DMs. It's just something that said like request or I forget what it is. But anyway, I open it up. It said Robert Woods is done for the year. So make of that what you will, or whatever it was. And I'm like, come on. I'm literally about to go to the Devils game. And this dude's giving me news that I honestly didn't really even believe. Right? Because I was like, Odell's signing a contract today. Like, what is he talking about? Robert Woods suffers the injury the day Odell is signing the contract. So think about this. Odell signing the contract doesn't change history. It doesn't make it so Robert Woods tears his ACL, right? He doesn't get the injury because Odell signed the contract. So what I'm saying is at the time, let's be honest here, at the time, the Rams didn't have a need. They had Van Jefferson, they had Cooper Kupp, Ben Skoranek was a guy they really liked. They had Robert Woods, and they had Deshaun Jackson before he asked out for God knows why, and he still regrets it to this day. He talks about it all the time. Point being, if they don't make the trade for Odell Beckham Jr., Robert Woods goes down with the injury, and they don't have anybody, and even worse, Alexis, he's a Packer. And guess what? The Packers lost a wicked close game in the snow to the 49ers. Remember that? I think Odell is enough for them to win that game. And then you're probably playing the Packers in a rematch in the NFC title game. And guess what? You're not hosting that. You're going to Lambeau Field. So you see how things can change even if you take one thing away. And so sitting here right now in saying they don't need a wide receiver. They got Tyler Johnson and Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell. I love Tutu Atwell. I don't want this to take anything away from Atwell, playing time-wise or anything. But if Odell wants to come back to the Rams for the veteran minimum, how do you not bring him back? Familiarity, right? That's huge. He gets along great with the head coach, the quarterback, the rapport with the quarterback, Cooper Kupp. He's still explosive, had over 16 yards per reception last year for the Baltimore Ravens. And people are going to tell me he's washed because of the reality that the Dolphins never used him. He had 55 yards. They threw the ball to him like 11 times. So I don't know. I think if the Rams could make it happen and he wanted to come back, I would do it. I think the biggest issue is what number is he going to wear? That's the biggest issue for me. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, because 313. He can't be. I mean, 23 is taken, but I don't think a receiver can be in 20s.
And I agree with this. It's simple, but it's effective. Great for red zone touchdowns. He can be an option. All he has to do is be a sub package option. I think he still has that explosion. He had a 90+ yard game against the Rams last year when he was on the Ravens, and he had a 100+ yard game against the Bengals in week 11 last year. So this guy still offers that. The Dolphins just never used him, and they drafted a young player, Malik Washington, who they'd rather give him reps to. So they had a plan. They didn't fall through on it. They changed it, and Odell and them are parting ways mutually. So Odell's either going to go to the Chiefs, the Rams, the Ravens, or the Bills, in my opinion. Maybe the Eagles, maybe the Lions, but that's how I feel. It's going to be a contender. And if he wants to go back to the Rams, they held his locker almost the entire 2022 season for him, so you never know.
Well, on that note, what do you think about the Aaron Donald talk? Because I feel differently about that. Yeah,
it's gone. It's over.
People need to grieve. Now, obviously, there will always be that little flicker inside, right?
Well, he can't come back. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't. Saw.
Oh, yeah, no, he can't come back because it's after week 13. That was the deadline for a retired player on the retired list to come back. And so this is how they would have to do it. This is why he wouldn't come back. Because if he wanted to play for the Rams, do you know what they have to do? They have to waive him. He has to clear waivers. And if I'm the 49ers, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm claiming Aaron Donald, who would be ahead of the Rams in the waiver wire. And even still, you'd have the Buccaneers below the Rams in the waiver wire, and they're in the playoff race. So the point is, you wouldn't get him back, and there's actually precedence for this, because when Deion Sanders retired, and he was on at the time, Washington Redskins retired list, they released him so he could go to the Raiders, and the Chargers claimed him. That's what would happen. So the Rams, unfortunately, which I just think they probably already reached out to Donald and he said no. But this is why, for those of you who are asking why in my video I said the dream is dead, this is why. This has been a long form fan theory, and I'm going to say something very controversial. I don't think they need Aaron Donald to win the Super Bowl. I don't. Would it be fun? Yes. But I don't think they need him at all. I love the way the defensive front has come along. They don't need him. I moved on. I moved on when he retired. I can't stress that enough. I'm a believer in just whoop. And that's what I did. Well,
yeah, I didn't see that or know that process. But regardless, I was of the mindset that, he seemed very at peace with retiring. And I feel like people need to just let him, have his next chapter of his life. He was very adamant about his desires, and, obviously it made us all sad, but I just, I don't foresee, even if he could come back and play, I don't foresee that happening. But we do miss him a lot, and always will, because there will never be another Aaron Donald. Not even close, but, the defensive line that we have now is certainly, I think, making him proud right now. I mean,
Oh
these
yeah.
young guys, out there, and the performance they had yesterday, and many of the performances they've had over the season have just been really fun to watch. So, um, yeah, I think you're right. As crazy as it is, I don't think the Rams need Aaron Donald.
No, they don't. It feels weird to say that, but it's just a testament to the scouting department being able to, really, just get home the fact that Verse and Fisk sell that to the Rams brass, and of course they're able to come to that conclusion, and they did whatever they could to get these guys. I mean, keep in mind they stayed pat for Jared Verse. They got lucky; he fell into their lap, while they also tried to trade multiple times up in the draft. But in the second round, that was them not getting lucky. That was them being aggressive. Sometimes when you want something, you're going to pay a little bit extra. Maybe you pay for that extra expedited shipping. Maybe in terms of you and I, the DoorDash or the Uber Eats, we pay for that like express where we know that, okay, they're going to have 2 to 3 stops. I don't want my food to be cold. I want it right this second. So I'll pay the extra $5 to. That is essentially what the Rams did to get Braden Fisk. They weren't going to wait. If they waited, you run the risk. Could he have fallen? They traded 12 spots up. I'll tell you, to this day, people say it was and I said at the time, people said it was a reach. You were a really big fan of it, but I also liked it. And I said people were going to say this is a reach, but they clearly had intel. He was not going to make it to their pick. And so they did their damnedest to get him. And guess what? In my opinion, those are the 2 best rookie defensive players in the league right now. I mean, you could make an argument the corner, Quinion Mitchell, and even both corners in Philly are up there, with DeJean. But I feel really confident in saying that the 2 Rams right now, that they've just kind of changed the game, because when you have those 2 and you got a Kobe Turner and you got a Byron Young, you start to have things come together. And that's how you start to take your franchise to the next level. The thing that about the whole 49ers game, and you could see it with Diamador Lenore's like absolutely asinine and incredibly ignorant comments, saying, I forget exactly what he said about Cup, but it was really boneheaded, and I'll probably be able to find it here. Yeah, the conditioning thing. Look, I've never seen an organization talk more shit. Not organization, but the players of an organization talk more shit after they lose than any team. Quite honestly, I don't remember seeing a team that lost talk shit until the 49ers did against the Eagles, who destroyed them. So I don't know what that is. That culture has to change. Kyle Shanahan has to, really look in the mirror and look at what his best friend Sean McVay is doing. Because I can tell you, they closed the gap, and they need to look over at the other sideline and say, what are we missing? Why did we just lose to this team twice? Because I could tell you it's not just the injuries, okay? And you could say they got lucky the first time, but what about this time? On your turf, with your back against the wall, you gave it your all and you lost. And to me, this is why I'm not going to focus too much on the Niners culture, but say the Rams are trending in the right direction. And while everyone was so big about, complaining about their F them picks, literally in the middle of them complaining about it, Alexis, the Rams were rebuilding on the fly. And if you didn't notice it, you were too blind to see it, but it doesn't matter because they're 8-6 right now. And they might be, 2 wins away from clinching this division, depending on how the Seattle game goes with the Packers and the Vikings. Not going to be an easy next 2 games for Seattle.
Well, that's right. And to close out this episode, I wanted us to talk kind of about these scenarios and, what needs to happen in order for the Rams to clinch a playoff spot. And this is always something that you're really good at, with like remembering seeding and numbers and all that. And that's a little over my head, but I will say this. So we know that Seattle plays the Packers this Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Don't shoot the messenger, guys. But I think that it's trending that I think that Seattle could win this game.
I do too. I have them winning the game.
I think, they're playing at home. It's a very difficult environment to play in Seattle. The Packers have been really hot and cold as of late, but they've really been struggling. And I feel like this is going to be a game that the Seahawks are going to win. So, assuming that the Seahawks win on Sunday, Jake, that would put them at 9-5. We're still at 8-6. My understanding is, we got to take a look at the Washington Commanders game, but they're probably also going to win against the Saints because, in my mind, and I'll let you talk about the mathematical scenarios of this in a second. From what I'm seeing, it looks like the Commanders and the Packers, obviously, aside from the NFC West, we need them all to do poorly. But aside from the NFC West, I think it's the Commanders and the Packers who we need to start losing.
So the Commanders are like a failsafe, right? If they lose, the Rams have that wild card to fall back on, but you got to win the division. You want that home playoff game. So it's really simple. The Rams control their own destiny. There are 3 more games on the season. Woo! The season flew by, and at the same time, it didn't. Felt very excruciating at points, like the 1-4 point of the season. But just look at that. 7 of the last 9 the Rams have won. It's put them in this situation. So the next 3 games, Jets at MetLife. Sean McVay, I don't believe, has ever lost at MetLife Stadium. So he's had a lot of success there. I've been at every game, and I haven't seen a loss. So he's had a lot of success there. That Giants game last year, 26-25, don't take it for granted because I'm telling you right now, that Jets game is going to be in that same mold. I really think that's going to be a cold weather game. Don't believe me, go outside right now in upstate New York, and it is really cold. I'm sure it's even colder in the city, or near the city because they're in Jersey. But keep that in mind. That is going to be a tough game. Although one thing I will say, if you want to take this to the bank about why you should feel comfortable about it, Matthew Stafford has never played well against Wink Martindale. And when they played against the Giants last year, that was Wink Martindale's defense. That gave, 3 turnovers, whatever. Wink Martindale is not the defensive coordinator in this one. So we'll see how it goes. I do think it'll be close. Then you have Arizona. Arizona's fan base doesn't travel well to SoFi. I know it's not that far away. I know some people are going to say, what fan base? But all in actuality, the Rams will not have to play with a silent count. If we're just being real for 2 seconds, we know the Rams will not have to play with a silent count against Arizona. That will feel like a playoff game because Arizona needs that. The Rams, they could be trying to clinch the playoffs in that game. So you take care of those 2. Guess what the Rams' record is? 10-6. They are knocking on the door at that point, if they win those 2 games, with a date against Seattle in Week 18 at SoFi Stadium. They are knocking on the door at an 11-6 record, which would be better than last year. So I'm just saying, it started off poor, but the Rams have a chance to not only have a better record than last year, but get that 3rd seed and host a playoff game. They could get the 4th seed and host a playoff game. And really, what you're looking at, Green Bay could be an opponent, and I'm sure they'd love to get revenge. 24-19 loss without Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, bunch of other guys. I mean, Logan Bruss was starting, and he's not even on the team anymore. Let's just put it that way. So 24-19 against the Packers, you could have a rematch. You could see Rams Commanders. That would be interesting. Sean McVay going against his former organization. You could have a Rams Seahawks rematch from Week 18, like where they basically just stay at SoFi Stadium. So really interesting stuff there. I think that those are really the only likely ones. But the wild card is open as a failsafe. I'm just saying, the way the Rams are playing right now, winning 7 of the last 9, you got to just win the division, Alexis. You got to get it done, get that home playoff game, get some momentum, and you could have the home playoff game in the divisional round depending on how things go in the wild card.
So here's the thing. I think the Rams went out. I'll say it right now. I think they went out. you brought up some good points about the game against the Jets. I do think that they beat the Jets. It sounds like you do too, but that is the one that I think would be just the circumstances. I mean, an away game, freezing cold, at MetLife, that would be the one, I guess, that, people, if people wanted to pick a game to worry about. But I still think that they went out. But I guess they could, trying to do the math in my head. There's a few situations where they could not win out, obviously, and make it.
Yeah.
I would be very curious. So it sounds like you would like to play the Packers.
Oh, I don't care who they play. I think they'll beat anybody.
I do too, but I still, if I'm a gambling betting person, I would like the Rams to probably play the Commanders out of the group that we just mentioned.
So I'm telling you now, and they'll appreciate this because a lot of them are Dodger fans. Gary on Yankees Unloaded was like, who do you want the Yankees to play in the World Series? And I said, I am not answering this, because he was like, I want to play the Dodgers. I was like, I'm not answering this because this never goes the way I want it to. I literally, and to this day I regret it, 2018, we could have had Rams Chiefs. I think the Rams win that Super Bowl. And I rooted because I wanted revenge so bad from my childhood being ruined by Tom Brady. I wanted the Patriots to win. I rooted for the Patriots in the AFC title game to get revenge. I will never do it again. I do not pick teams I want to beat them or they're easier, because it always blows up in your face. I'll never forget 2017. Everyone's like, oh, the Rams drew the Falcons. Like, that's an easy win. And I'm sitting there like, no, it's not. They were just in the Super Bowl last year. Are you kidding me? Like, what are we talking about? And sure enough, veteran Falcons team comes in, asserts their dominance at the Coliseum, and they win that game. And I know a lot of people bring up Pharaoh Cooper's 3 fumbles, but still, I'll not do it. But I get what you're saying, though. It makes sense. Go against Jordan Love or go against a rookie who's never seen anything like the pressure he's going to see in a playoff game like Jaden Daniels. I understand why you would say Washington. I do. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think they could beat anybody, but I do think about that. I think the most likely scenario is they play the Packers. Like, I think, doing the math, it's probably the Packers. It would be really interesting if it was the Seahawks, like you said, playing back-to-back weeks.
They beat them once, 3 times in a season. Like, what was it, 20? No, not 20. It was, no, they beat them. They didn't beat them 3 times, but they beat them in the playoffs in 2020. You brought that up. I don't know if you realized, but that's the last time Darius Williams had a pick with the Rams. That game. But then Alexis, the St. Louis Rams, they beat the Seahawks 3 times in a season. Wasn't that when they got mollywopped by the Falcons?
It might have been.
It's like 45-17. And my little self totally thought they had a chance. And like TJ Duckett was like, nope. And then Michael Vick and Warwick Dunn. And I was like, I hate this. I don't know if it was that. It could have been the Carolina year too. I can't remember now.
I'm just laughing. Jake, you would be laughing at these comments.
I am now. April Ludgate. I'm laughing at that already.
No. People were just joking. I was like, they're talking about negativity, and I was like, I'm not negative. I just sound like this.
It's just the way I am.
I'm happy. It's just the way that I talk. Yeah. Well, you and I both have the Rams winning out, so we agree on that. And I think that, I think they can beat anybody. I obviously just think, you can't take any game for granted, because even though we're saying this, the Rams can't think like that. They can't get too confident. And then, we know what happens when that happens.
It was 2005, by the way. I just found it.
Yeah.
So the Rams 2004 team beat Seattle's never beaten the Rams in the playoffs, by the way. They're 0-2 against the Rams. Found really interesting. And I was right. I got it right, except the score is wrong. So the Rams beat the Seahawks in the wild card that year. So they won three games against the Seahawks. And by the way, this is weird. They won an overtime game against the Jets to go to the playoffs. So I'm just saying.
What an era.
Yeah, but they lost to the Falcons 47-17. That did happen in the divisional round. Good Lord. Yeah, Michael Vick only had 82 passing yards, but he ran for 119. Warwick Dunn ran for 142, and TJ Duckett ran for 66. They ran all over the Rams. Anyway, memory lane.
I think
Not a good way.
I see. I vaguely remember, like, I don't really remember that game, just like very vaguely. I might have blacked it out, like, in my mind.
Oh, it was bad.
Like, there's been several. It's like there's certain seasons of the Rams that I've had, like, I think a trauma response from back in the St. Louis days, and I just don't remember those games.
I thought they were gonna win because they had a touchdown to, like, pretty much to start the first, like, the drive, and then I remember Kevin Curtis caught like he had a huge play, scores a touchdown, 7-7. I'm like, all right, this is going to be back and forth. And then they took a 21-7 lead. And then Torrey Holt caught a touchdown. But then they gave up a punt return to Allen Rossum. And I just remember them not being able to shut down the Falcons after that. And they just steamrolled the Rams in I think it was the third quarter, where it just 35-17 and it turned into 47-17, just like that. So, yeah.
I'm remembering, so my mind, I don't know why this particular St. Louis Rams game was devastating to me, but do you remember the London game, Sam Bradford against the Patriots? Right? It was against it. Yeah, it was like 40.
I'll never forget it. They throw a bomb. Chris Givens catches the touchdown. They're up 7-0.
Yeah.
And my delusional little kid, head was like, oh, wow, we're going to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots in this game in London. They won like 49-7.
I just looked it up. It was 45-7.
Oh, my God.
I don't know why I have such a vivid memory of that game, because it was like
too.
Nothing special. Was like I was just watching the game with my dad, like at home. Like it wasn't
Oh my God.
just a regular season. Maybe because it was in London and the Rams were playing in London, whatever. But oh my God, that game literally sent me to a really bad spiral.
The seventh circle of hell.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I don't remember. I think there was a play in particular where Sam Bradford got just like blown up, and it was like the nail in the coffin.
Shocker.
I don't remember if it was a sack or what it was, but it was so excruciating. Maybe people in the chat remember that game. But if you
Do you
guys
remember overtime against the Vikings, like Adrian Peterson, they're like, he hasn't ever had a touchdown in overtime. And there's Adrian Peterson and he's gone. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I was at a sports bar and everyone's like, go AP, go AP, go AP. I'm like, why is everyone always rooting against my team? Even when we're terrible, they're rooting against my team. But then things changed when they hired Sean McVay. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget.
Well, we had to go through those character building years
It's
to be
true.
able to enjoy this.
Oh, the Case Keenum Giants game in London.
Case Keenum. Okay, so that would have been 2000 and
That was 2016.
16.
They were 3-1, I think, and then they had a London game. I'm gonna look it up right now. It was they literally they lost that game like 19 to 12 or 19 to 15 or some ugly score, and they like should have won. Okay, it was 10-17. They lost, and they were 3-3 going into this game, and Case Keenum had 4 interceptions, and they should have won the game. He threw over Tavon Austin's head like every time.
It's so disgusting to think of some of these offenses that we witnessed during that time period, because now I'm like over here
it's
with
even
like
worse.
Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams, and it's like, do you remember like Case Keenum throwing over Tavon Austin's head?
15 targets, 10 catches for 57 yards.
Ugh.
Oh
Like
no.
sends chills down my spine. I'm
Oh
trying to
man.
remember who the quarterback, I guess Case Keenum would have been the last cornerback that I saw at the Dome.
I
Um,
saw Case Keenum in his last game as the Rams starting quarterback. It was the Jets game, that the last game they won in week 10. They won that game 9-6. Very much like last night, except the defense wasn't the reason they won. It was just horrible offensively. It's just like, oh, good Lord. I see Marty Gilliard. Hey, Brian, I agree with you. I thought Terrell. Here's the thing. I thought Denari Alexander was like the most special receiver I've ever seen. Because I'll never forget the diving catch he had against the Chargers. And I was like, this guy is the greatest thing ever. And then he got hurt and I was depressed. Like literally depressed.
yeah.
And then Jeff Fisher cuts him and he goes to the Chargers with Phillip Rivers and just is the best receiver in the league in like an 8-game span. And then he gets hurt. We never see him again. If he didn't have 8 knee operations, he could have been like a stud receiver in this league, no doubt.
I mean, yeah, the Rams have had so many promising, I feel like, receivers. I
They
mean,
probably did. There just wasn't a lot of development, and there was no offensive line.
yeah, I mean the Tavon Austin career is always gonna hurt. I mean, he did have like I think people are too hard on Tavon Austin. I think the
They are.
problem with Tavon Austin is people thought he was gonna be, yeah, that they, like Randy Moss. Like the excitement around Tavon Austin was palpable. I mean, trust me, I was like, there was like Tavon Austin like jerseys everywhere in St. Louis at the time was where I was living, and like at school, and it was like everybody like, and I actually hear this from a lot of non-Rams fans, like the Tavon Austin college highlights are like legendary. Everybody was
Oh
like
yeah.
watching those every day till his rookie debut. So like, I think he had a little bit of an insane expectation on him. And he
No, I
still,
agree.
yeah, I think he still had his, I think he had a decent career for a bit, but he was never like the second coming of, Randy Moss or whatever it is that people were expecting, Jerry Rice. But
Yeah.
I saw someone mention Stedman Bailey in the chat. Yeah, remember like there was a time like Tavon and Stedman Bailey, like what a duo.
I'll never forget having so like the expectations for whatever reason were so high in 2011 going into that year.
They were.
Spagnuolo was a rookie head coach, and he had just in the past year, and they had just lost on hostile environment last game of the year, Sunday Night Football, to go to the playoffs against Seattle, and it's like, oh, they're going to be better. Bradford won Rookie of the Year, and they just got because they keep in mind they lost Shermer. He goes and becomes the head coach for the Browns. Weird time. And then they go out and they get Josh McDaniels to be their offensive coordinator. And everyone's like, well, Josh McDaniels, he was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. So it's automatically going to work. No doubt about it. And yeah, it didn't. I remember the Eagles game, 31-13, not being close. But then it was the Giants game where their offense actually looked like they had a chance of being good. And then Danny Amendola's elbow went to East Jesus nowhere. We still don't know where his elbow was. And got dislocated so bad that ESPN on the broadcast wouldn't show it.
Yeah.
And after that, Sam Bradford dealt with the high ankle sprain the entire year. The whole year he was banged up. And they won 2 games. And one of those games, I remember being at a sports bar watching, was against the Browns. And it was maybe the worst game in the history of ever. It was 13-12.
I
So
was
bad.
Well, I was looking at some of these comments. Someone said Mob Squad, and I was like, that was a really fun era. That was a
Yeah.
really fun era. I had like Mob Squad t-shirts and everything. And I was actually thinking this. I think I can name every single person that started on that defensive line. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, because I think there's only going to be one player I'm going to miss. So up front, left to right, you've got Chris Long, Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, Robert Quinn. Because this is back when we played like a more of the
Kendall
traditional
Langford in
4-4.
there, yeah.
Well, Kendall Langford, like Willie Hayes would sometimes rotate into, but like starting
Yeah.
to come out, that's who you had up front. Then a middle
Eugene Sims,
linebacker.
I see him in the comments section. Yep.
Oh yeah, Eugene Sims was also wow. So that was a fun up front. Then in the middle, you obviously had James Laurinaitis,
Hmm.
middle linebacker. On that, so this is where I get tripped up because you had him, like you had Ebukam, who I think might have been a rookie if he wasn't, it was like his first year. You had Akeem Ayers, and you
Well,
had Mark
Ebu,
Barron.
yeah, Ebukam was a 2017 pick. And you're talking about the last year St. Louis team?
Oh, so okay, so he wasn't there yet. 2016. So you had James Laurinaitis. I think you had Akeem Ayers starting on one side. You had Mark Barron on the other. I forget who the other middle linebacker was. It's the one that I think I'm gonna.
I think you're right. It was Akeem Ayers.
No, I thought he was in that. Was he? Oh wait, he was in the middle.
Because they used Mark Barron. I mean, they ran a 4-3. So they had James Laurinaitis in 2015. I believe they had Akeem Ayers, and
Ayers and Barron.
they had Barron, yeah.
So okay, so then that was the three. So then in the secondary at corner,
Joe
you
Lon
had
Dunbar. You're right.
yes, he was there. But in the back, you had at corner, you had Trumaine Johnson and
Mhm.
Janoris Jenkins, which was like a really underrated duo. Then at
Yeah.
secondary, you had TJ McLeod and McDonald. I'm blanking on his first name.
Oh, you're
Or no,
talking
was it
about
Rodney McLeod
Rodney
and TJ
McLeod
McDonald?
and TJ
Rodney
McDonald.
McLeod and TJ McDonald. Yes.
And there was
It was
another.
the two MCs. The two
Cody
MCs.
Davis too. Cody Davis, I think, was their. He was a third safety.
Yeah.
And remember when
insane.
Jeff Fisher would just bring guys over from tennis? It was like a running gag.
Yeah.
Like Ayers, Cortland Finnegan, way past his prime. Jacob Bell, I believe, at one point, the offensive guard. Oh, Jared Cook. I mean, Kenny Britt.
Kenny
Or when they
Britt.
thought they drafted, Les Snead said that they drafted Brian Quick because he reminded him of Vincent Jackson. Rest in peace, Vincent Jackson. Absolute stud. But yeah, it's man, it's crazy. I still remember being
Yes.
excited for Samkin Gatto. Do you remember him, the running back?
I don't know that that doesn't really ring a bell, but
Yeah,
I
it was,
do
yeah.
I do have a special nostalgia for the Mob Squad era because that was like kind of like right when when sports teams started really getting into like Instagram and Twitter a little bit later, but that was like the first. They'd kind of been on Facebook, and then the Rams were super
Rowdy
active
Fletcher.
on Instagram, and so all the players got Instagram, and so, but not a lot of like people had it. So like guys like Chris Long and Janoris Jenkins and Tremaine Johnson and like Willie Hayes would like mess like if you commented on stuff, like they'd reply back to you. So it was like a super interactive era that you don't really have anymore because now everybody has social media and it's totally changed. But it was so common, like after like a big win from the Rams, for me to get on Instagram and like comment and these guys to just like write back. Like it was just a really different time. So it was really fun.
It's the most random fact ever, but I love it.
Jacob Bell owned a good vegetarian restaurant in downtown San Diego now.
That is
Interesting.
pretty awesome. Oh, OJ Atogwe. I always made the joke because OJ Atogwe had this long contract that they gave him. He was supposed to be like well into the Sean McVay era on the Rams. His contract, I think, was up in 2018 or 2019.
Adam Archuleta.
He's in the broadcast booth now.
Yeah, Richie Incognito.
Brandon Manamaliuna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, TJ
saw
McDonald.
Ty Hill. Oh my God, I remember that. Ty Hill. I remember it all. I remember Trung Candidate. I remember they drafted Keenan Burton from Kentucky. I think that was the same draft they got Marty Gilliard in from Cincinnati. I already saw somebody mention Gilliard. Ram
Rams
legend Matt Longacre.
Yep. Somebody asked a comment for us to name the offensive lineman. But I didn't say what era. They just said
I interviewed
I
Jimmy
guess so
Kennedy.
the end of and I'm gonna blank on this because ironically, so I just remember the like Roger Saffold was there at the end, Rob Havenstein, obviously. Um,
Yeah. And then center was Scott Wells. They got him
that
veteran
late
from
though?
they got him from the Packers. So
Was
Scott
Greg
Wells,
who was
Harvey
our Greg
Dahl.
Harvey Dahl, was Greg Robinson still there? Yeah, he was there.
They
Starting
drafted him
left
in
tackle.
20. I thought they drafted him in 2014. So yeah, he was there.
Yeah, duh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that
not the
was.
best.
I loved Harvey Dahl, but
Yeah.
yeah, most of that, and obviously Saffold and Havenstein. But
Jake Long was
Jake
earlier.
Long, I don't know if he was still there 2015. I don't think so. Oh, that's
Um,
Tim Barnes. Yeah, he might have been this Scott Wells or Tim Barnes. It was one of them.
Greatest show on turf days, better offensive line. Um,
Oh yeah, I mean
but yeah.
Andy McCullum, who we've interviewed, Adam
Yep.
Timmerman,
Orlando Pace.
obviously Orlando Pace.
Duh.
The greatest show on turf, I think. Oh God, what's his name? The other guy was a Jayhawk, and I can't remember his name. And you had Tom Newton as well. I cannot remember the guy who started at right tackle. Fred Miller. Yep. Fred Miller is his name.
Better
Ryan
days.
Tucker. Yeah.
And then you
Ryan
look at running
Tucker.
backs. Somebody brought up Zach Stacy and Benny Cunningham.
Yeah. Well,
Those
Zach
days.
Stacy.
Trey
Yeah.
Mason. Not good stories.
No. No. John St. Clair, I remember him. You remember James Hodgins? His son's
Doesn't
Isaiah
ring a bell.
Hodgins.
Oh,
James
there's a
Hodgins was the
connection.
fullback I think it was after Robert Holcomb, if you remember him.
Kind of. See, I think I started following a little bit after
Mm-hmm.
you. I mean, I was going to all the games, but like really following.
They traded
Not
Kevin
great.
Carter away, I believe, or he signed somewhere. Kyle Turley Kyle Turley and Mike Martz, I'm pretty sure got into like a legitimate fight or something. I don't remember what it was, but
I
that's
told
why
you
he
my,
wasn't there that long.
I don't want to reveal where anybody lives. Well,
No,
I'll tell you later.
yeah.
You know, I've already told you about Mike Barnes.
Joey
Okay.
Goodspeed, I remember him. I don't know why I just was talking about Ernie Conwell earlier today.
Somebody brought up Michael Sam. I do
Michael
remember
Sam.
Michael Sam.
I remember Michael Sam. I
Um,
remember Ethan Westbrooks in that same draft class. Yeah.
Ethan Westbrooks. That's a
I got a
shout.
picture with him. It was after the Rams Packers game in the friends and family section. RWO hooked me up. I went back there and Ethan Westbrooks recognized me. I don't know why he recognized me to this day. This is 2018. So, I mean, I was just writing. So how would he have known what I look like? But yeah.
Nick Fairley.
Nick Fairley. Yeah.
We're reading comments, but some of these are comments, by the way, for everyone listening to audio.
Brady Papinga. Oh, remember Rams
Scott.
legend Wes Welker?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Well, I wasn't thinking about Wes Welker. That was a very weird
Very
Hail
weird.
Mary, no pun
Wore a
intended, of a signing.
19.
Danny Amendola.
Oh, I love Danny. Amendola.
People forget that where Danny's roots in the NFL were.
It's so true. It's so true.
They forget. They always think of him as the Patriot, but you know what? You guys weren't around. You know, these non-Rams fans, I say, you guys weren't around in the Danny OG days in St. Louis. That's where he got his start.
Bryce Hager. I liked Bryce Hager.
Yeah, I liked Bryce Hager. Brandon Lloyd.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Brandon Lloyd. When they brought him in, it was like way more fun to watch him. It's how I felt when, like, right before the season, they got Mark Clayton. And, like, he just had this rapport with Stafford. Good God. Bradford.
Yeah.
Both have Ford in him. He had this rapport with Bradford, like, right away. And I just felt like they had this great connection, and then he got hurt, and I was just like, oh my God. Fun fact, who remembers the wide receiver Sam Bradford threw his first career touchdown pass to? I'll never forget this one.
Oh my God, I can picture it.
I know the answer, but I don't want to spoil it.
Wasn't it a tight end?
No.
No, it was a receiver?
Nope. Someone said London Fletcher. No, it wasn't London Fletcher. No, I'm messing with you, though. They were just reminiscing. Just to confirm, I know exactly who it is.
Has anyone in the chat guessed it?
No one's guessed it yet.
Ugh, okay. Ugh, God, I was just going to read something from the chat and see who got it. All right, Jake, just tell us, because I don't want to cheat, but
Rob got it. Casey got it. Laurent Robinson. And it was like a 1 yard touchdown pass. It was. It was literally a 1 yard touchdown pass. Let's go. I remember this to this day. And I was like, wow, that's going to be a trivia question someday. And it never was. So for the first time ever, I guess that's a trivia question. I didn't think I'd be asking it on my own show, but you know, here we are.
Who was that? Is Christopher Wright? Was that against the Cardinals? I feel like I'm not remembering this at all.
Yeah, the Rams were down 10-3. I believe this was in Arizona. No, it was in St. Louis. Ken Wisenhunt versus Steve Spagnuolo.
Oh my God, what a era.
Derek Anderson was the quarterback because this was after Kurt Warner. Yeah. Bradford rolled over to his right and threw a touchdown to Laurent Robinson, from what I remember.
Man.
And then Laurent went to the Dallas Cowboys and had some random heater when he had like a 6 straight game, 120 plus yard a game like performance with Tony Romo and the Cowboys. It was so weird because he was kind of disappointing. They expected him to be really good. In that game, Jackson ran for 81 yards and 22 carries. Mark Clayton, this guy was a throwaway by the Ravens. They're like, oh, you want him? By all means. Mark Clayton had 16 targets from Sam Bradford for 10 catches and 119 yards. Crazy. Danny Amendola caught 6 for 67. Laurent Robinson caught 3 for 18 and a touchdown. Billy Badgema and Daniel Fells were also receivers in that game. Marty Gilliard got a target, did not catch. And Holman Awanui, he had 8 yards on a catch. Yeah, crazy. Kenneth Darby, Mike Carney. I chatted with Mike Carney a bit on the pod. That was a while ago. I don't remember Sam Bradford having a horrible rookie game, though. He had 3 interceptions.
I don't know that he did.
I don't remember
I feel
that.
like
He had 3 picks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he ever had like a bad. I don't remember his rookie year being painful, and because of that.
I remember it. Them pick. Oh my God! In overtime when they punted it right, like you just see nobody around, and it's just Patrick Peterson his rookie year. They punt it a line drive to him, and you're like, and there's just all this grass, and you're like, we just lost. I was like, you can't be serious.
Do you remember, speaking of quarterbacks, when we had, somebody mentioned Austin Davis earlier, who I don't know why. I just always liked Austin Davis. I became a fierce defender of his. And I just even when he didn't play well, I just was fiercely behind him because I felt bad for him. But who was the other backup that
you have no idea. I used to get into fights with Miles Simmons. The Rams, when he was reporting for the Rams, I would tell him he didn't know what he was watching when I was a kid. Because I was like, Austin Davis is the best quarterback we've had since Mark Bulger. And he's like, yeah, that's why he is literally the 3rd string quarterback right now. I was like, you just watch. He's going to come in there and then sure enough, he got the opportunity. And he's like, yeah, but this is why they need to get Case Keenum. I'm like, so yeah, Miles Simmons and I never got along in that regard. Obviously, I respect him now and everything, and I was just a little kid. But yeah, Austin Davis was always hated, but I would always have the context of they had him rolling out. They had him doing 7-step dropbacks, no offensive line, no run game to speak of, right? And all of a sudden, we're watching this guy do Russell Wilson things. He had 3 touchdowns, should have been 4 against the Dallas Cowboys. Jared Cook drops potentially a game winner. He goes over there and just shoves Austin Davis on the sidelines. Will Hayes almost killed him on the sidelines. I remember that. But Austin Davis gave us hope. It was like you're watching him and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Sean Hill came in and you're like, oh, no. Like, no.
That's
Like.
That's what I was thinking of, by the way. It was somebody who dropped it in the
Yeah.
chat.
You know what ended
That it
up
was
being
Sean Hill.
the death of Austin Davis' Rams career? When Sean Hill was literally sitting there being the most NPC, and with all due respect, I have no issue with Sean Hill personally or anything like that. But Sean Hill did nothing against the Raiders, and they won 52-0, and that was the end of Austin Davis. Jeff Fisher was never going to switch the quarterback, and of course, Sean Hill struggled after that, and that is what it is. But you and I would have gotten along very well before LA, because I was the biggest Austin Davis fan and defender. And I still think to this day, Frank Signetti just did him no services with that offense. And keep in mind, they changed the way they called plays when Austin Davis was benched for Sean Hill. So when Sean Hill came in, now all of a sudden they're having an offense. They're running the football. They're not asking Sean Hill to carry the team. But when Austin Davis was in there, they're like, yeah, 7-step dropbacks. You're going to have to turn into Russell Wilson for us to win this game. Sean Hill, they're like, yeah, designed like, 1 read, 2 read different plays, and just throw to your check down and hand it off to Trey Mason or Zach Stacy and let them do the rest. And I'm like, it's like you never let Austin Davis do that. So
Yeah.
I always had an issue with that.
I was a fierce defender of his. And you know who else was on that roster at
A lot of
receiver?
people.
Do you remember Austin Pettis?
I loved Austin Pettis.
I loved Austin Pettis.
His
And
family
brother
is so
still
nice,
playing.
by the way. Yes, his brother's still playing. He mossed Darius Williams on the 2-point conversion
Yeah,
in
he was
New
on the
Orleans.
Bears for, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
No, I
That
had a
was,
chance to meet his mom at an RWO. Actually, it was Leroy Irvin's 60th birthday party in LA. And his mom was I was telling his mom, I'm like, yeah, Dante is like my number 1 receiver coming out in the draft. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's like my nephew, like all that. So it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're cousins, Dante and Austin. But Austin, his dad was
they're
in.
cousins.
Yeah, his dad was in the major leagues baseball, Gary Pettis. He's still in. I'm pretty sure he's a base coach. So that family has a lot of athleticism, I can tell you that much. But yeah, I remember poor Austin Pettis dropped that pass on 4th down against the Eagles, and no one ever forgave him for it. And that was that.
Do you remember EJ Gaines?
Yes, they traded him for Sammy Watkins. They traded him and a 2nd-round pick for Sammy Watkins. I liked him a lot, but he had a plantar fasciitis injury, and that ruined his Rams career. And he ended up getting traded.
I know. I mean, a lot of people just, he came out of Mizzou. So he was like very popular already in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then the Rams drafted him. And so I just remember everybody was super hyped for him, but it just didn't
He was
pan out.
good, but yeah, he got hurt. And I mean, there's, I think a lot of these guys in closing, because I mean, we could keep going on and on and on. In closing, I would say a lot of these guys had every opportunity to be really good, except for the opportunities that the Rams were giving them, because I just don't think. I thought the coaching staff when Todd Gurley said it was a high school offense in 2016. Remember him saying that? Mm-hmm. I felt like Todd Gurley was seeing what all these guys had to go through in the Sosar Rams era. The coaching staff was not good. They did not put these guys in the best position. So a lot of these people thought these players sucked. And I think a lot of these guys actually could really play in this league. And while, yeah, I don't think the drafting was all that great, developing is just as, important as drafting. And if you can't develop the talent you have, you're not going to win. And that's the difference between today and yesterday. And luckily, we're not talking about a 6-8 Rams team that you go on the playoff machine and you need this team to tie and this team to win and this team to win. We're talking about a team where if they just win out and they win 3 more games, they're in the playoffs again. And Sean McVay has only missed the playoffs twice. One of those times, every single injury that could have occurred. And the second time was because, honestly, he would have made it in the 7-team format. It was the last year of the 6-team format, and he missed it by 1 game. So that's where we're at. Obviously, it is a reminder. It's nice to go down memory lane, even when it's painful. But it's also smart to do it to just remind yourself, you ever find yourself sitting there and saying, I want to say, fire McVay, I'm just mad, whatever. Don't, because this is what they used to deal with. 12-4 or whatever, 13-3. Yeah, that wasn't a thing with the St. Louis Rams, the SOSAR St. Louis Rams. That was like 1-15. Oh, here's Jason Smith, who, by the way, I know you've been looking forward to, isn't going to work out. 2-14. Oh, by the way, here's Sam Bradford. I know you're really excited about him, but he's going to tear his ACL twice, including a freaking preseason game when your left tackle, who you paid top dollar to, gives up a sack in preseason. It was just like that. So I just say, be fortunate. This is the Rams now, and man, I'm glad it is.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say I'm so proud of the chat. Everybody's memory has just been on fire
I know.
tonight. We've all collectively just remembered so many people. I was thinking, remember AJ Feely being on the Rams?
I
That's
have a story for you about that. So, Peak, my best friend, he used to go and watch the Rams games with me at the sports bar, even when he was a Patriots fan and thought he was a Giants fan, all that. And on Halloween, he, instead of going and hanging out with, our friend group, he came to watch the Rams with me take on the Matt Moore Panthers. They had one win combined between the two teams. AJ Feely versus Matt Moore. It's still one of those things to this day. I'm like, that was something else. That was really just a different type of era. Was that 2009, by the way? I think it was.
I don't know if that game was 2009 or 2010. I'm pretty sure that AJ Feely was the 2009, 2010.
Might have been 2008.
2011?
Oh, maybe. Was it Rams, Panthers, and then we'll wrap it up. AJ Feely, Matt Moore. Google's asking me, why are you? Okay. Okay, so that was 2010. Let's see. Panthers? I'm not seeing it. I know they played the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't remember about that. I don't remember that game. Somebody brought up Jake McQuaid. And him, him and John Hector and Greg the Leg.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. But I mean, it's probably
Jeff Wilkins, that's right.
Jeff Wilkins, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know.
His kid.
Damn. I saw Dane Looker earlier.
Yeah. Like I said, just so proud of the chat. Everybody, we've really gone down memory lane. Some brutal years for all of us who were around in those eras. I mean, yeah, this is not it can be worse. That's what I'm gonna tell people. You can be at the pits of hell with the Rams.
Absolutely.
We certainly have been. So
yeah, that was 2011, and I guess I don't know. I think there's a Mandela effect going on because I remember it differently. I definitely don't remember this being a preseason game because I went to the sports bar to watch it.
I guess it was. That would make so much sense why it was Matt Moore versus AJ Feely.
No, but he actually ended up
That-
AJ Feely started 3 games in 2011. Kellen Clemens. Oh, yeah. Tom Brandstater. That is
we've truly had a insane. I mean, the
ride.
Rams. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an insane ride. Brock Berlin,
Oh, yeah.
Todd
Keith
Bauman.
Knoll. Scott Covington. I can't. Josh Gordy, Justin King, Justin Bannon, Fred Robbins, Leroy Glover, Quentin Michael. Oh, I love Darian Stewart. He was great. Well, I thought he was great. I don't know. He might have been really good. Maybe not great.
A lot of these players in the Rams probably were a lot better than they ended up being, but they
I
were
agree.
on the Rams.
James Hall,
And
really liked him. Yeah. Damn.
well, guys, yeah, as Jake said in closing, it's fun to have a little reminiscent segment of the show and just talk about how far
Ryan
we've come.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, somebody said CJ Anderson. I mean, yeah, the Rams have had like just a very random mix of players.
Yeah, they really have. I mean, they even had Broadway Joe Namath. It was horrible. He was absolutely terrible for the Rams, but yeah, they had Joe Namath. And
Yeah.
they had Kurt Warner, I'm pretty sure, the running back with a C.
Did we?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember.
Kurt Warner wasn't even the first Kurt Warner. How about that? I'm pretty sure Kurt Warner went to the Rams. He did. His last year, 1990. Kurt with a C was a Ram before Kurt with a K. How about that? Who would have thought? There was
yeah,
two
that's
Kurt
crazy.
Warners. I know. They had some other guys that became Rams that were like, why is this guy a Ram?
Yeah.
But
Wes Welker. We
well,
talked
Wes
about earlier.
Welker's the one where you're like,
What was happening?
and why? Like the last 4 games of the I remember because no one would sign him because they were worried about his head injuries. And the Rams signed him and they got so much flack for it.
Yeah. Well, I think that was more of like a just to sign a. He was a big name, you know,
Sam
from
Rodgers.
his Patriots days. But guys, yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. Thank you for
Yeah.
reminiscing. Grant Windstrom, all these names are coming in the chat. Yeah, it's
Travis
fun to think
Fisher,
about these times.
Jeremetrius Butler. All right, I'm done.
Well, guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Alexis Craft. Oh,
Super
sorry.
chats. I don't want to forget Hank's
Oh,
super
yes.
chats. Puka had over 100 scrimmage yards on an off night. Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for the 5 as well. Great divisional win. Looking forward to getting Higbee back. Feeling good about where we're at. Kyron ran hard and the defense balled out. LFG. Appreciate you, Hank. And I agree.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
And Higbee, he'll be back. So that's what it sounds like anyway. So really looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll let you close it out. I just wanted to get to those.
Well, thank you again, Hank. Really appreciate it. And then, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft. On Instagram, I'm just Alexis Craft. Jake is on Twitter and Instagram at JK Bogan. And guys, we've got a little mini bye week now, but we will be back, a few days before a matchup against the Jets to preview that. But as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.